This is the Raw Life Health Show. Raw Life.
Hello, everybody. It's Paul Neese with the Raw Life Health Show. I'm really excited about today's guest, Jeffrey Smith. He is the man about GMOs. Anything you want to know, he knows. And he wrote several books that he's going to talk about and DVDs that he's going to talk about. And he has a new important one coming out. I just heard him lecture last night. And if you're into health, you've heard of him. You've heard him speak. This information is probably at the top of the list of all the information that I discuss here on the Raw Life Health Show. So I'm going to get behind the camera and ask him some questions. And type your comments and questions below the video. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jeffrey Smith, and I wrote Seeds of Deception and Genetic Roulette, and my last movie is called Genetic Roulette, The Gamble of Our Lives, and now there's a movie out called Secret Ingredients. You can watch the trailer at secretingredients.com. It's not actually out yet. We're still working on it, finishing it up this summer. Now, in Secret Ingredients, we go to families that switch to organic foods, and autistic symptoms disappeared. Infertile couples got pregnant and had kids. People with cancer no longer have cancer. ADHD, skin conditions, so many problems, gluten sensitivity, so many problems got better when people switched to organic. Now, I actually did a survey of 3,600 people who say they improved when they switched to non-GMO, most of them by switching to organic, and it was the same kind of answers that I got in over 125 lectures, that when people switch to non-GMO, their digestion improves, they lose weight, they have more energy, reduce brain fog, the immune system functions better, they have skin conditions clearing up, the mind is better, so they're clearer, there's less anxiety, less depression, a whole host of things. And what I've noticed and what we've discovered and studied is that when you look at the nature of GMOs and you look at the nature of Roundup herbicide, which is sprayed both on the GMOs as well as some other crops, it can explain these problems. And if you look at these problems and their growth rate, they seem to rise in parallel with the increased use of GMOs and Roundup herbicide. So we think we're onto something huge, and it's simply a matter of switching to organic. And in one sense, you don't have to change your current diet, just eat everything you're already eating and just make sure it's all organic. And then take notes and see what happens to your body, to your mind, your energy level, and to your health. And then when you find out how good it is, tell everyone.
Your books and your information explain the dangers of GMO foods. Is organic 100% avoidable of organic of GMOs, or is that not necessarily true?
Well, nothing is 100% avoidable with GMOs at this point. If you buy anything with corn in it, it could be organic, which is not allowed to use GMOs. It could be non-GMO project verified, which is not only not allowed to intentionally use GMOs, but they test it. But the non-GMO project, for example, has a 0.9% threshold, so if it's below that, it can pass. Organic has no measures, so you can simply say that it's organic and non-GMO and never measure it because it's not a test-based certification. So whatever it is, if it has corn because it's in the gene pool, contamination can occur. So 100% is too strict a criteria. Some people avoid corn altogether because they feel they don't want any amount. We recommend organic as the number one, and if you can't buy organic, at least buy non-GMO.
What is actually the difference between organic and non-GMO in terms of from the GMO standpoint?
Well, a GMO is where you take a gene from one species and force it into the DNA of other species, or you rearrange genes within the same species. It's not a natural process. It causes massive collateral damage, and we've tracked many, many disorders and diseases in lab animals and related diseases and disorders getting better in humans, livestock, and pets when they get off of GMOs. Organic products are not allowed to use GMOs intentionally, but they're also not allowed to use a whole list of prohibited substances like toxic herbicides and pesticides and fertilizers. So you can eat something that's non-GMO, let's say a loaf of bread, and it might be that it has no at-risk ingredients that could possibly be GMO, because wheat's not genetically engineered. There's soy, corn, cotton, canola, sugar beets, alfalfa, zucchini, yellow squash, papaya, and soon apple and potato, unless we stop it. These are the only genetically modified commercialized crops right now. And let's say you have a loaf of bread that doesn't have any of them. It's non-GMO, and it could be non-GMO project verified as well. But wheat is also sprayed with Roundup. Now, Roundup is sprayed on most GMOs because 80% are engineered specifically as, quote, Roundup ready. They won't die when sprayed with Roundup, which normally kills plants. the wheat and all these other crops, wheat, barley, rye, rice, sweet potatoes, kiwi, all this long list, sugarcane, are sprayed with Roundup as part of the ripening process. It actually kills the plant, but it first dries it down, and then the plant sends all of its energy to its offspring as it's taking its last gasp. And so it's a ripening agent, and it also cleans out the weeds for the next growing season. So we're eating heavy doses of Roundup in wheat. So we say, yes, non-GMO is great, but it's not good enough. Organic is necessary in order to really avoid Roundup and these other toxins.
Sure. And so you said apples and potatoes coming soon. Is that all apples and potatoes or just a particular variety?
There's a variety of apple, the Arctic apple, which can be sliced and not brown. So it'll just dry up and disappear, and you'll never know that it's old. Same with the potato. There's a potato that has a similar property. And they use something called double-stranded RNA, which is a little piece of RNA produced in the inserted gene that silences the browning gene within these crops. And unfortunately, that same silencing gene could theoretically match up with our DNA and silence our genes, reprogram it as it has in lab animals with mice and also with honeybees.
You know what variety of potato that is?
Innate potato.
Okay. Now, is it safe to eat the other varieties once something is considered like papayas, Hawaiian papayas, GMO? Is it safe to eat non-Hawaiian papayas?
So the papayas that are genetically engineered are only from Hawaii or China. Most of them are genetically engineered. Now, unfortunately, there could be contamination. The way papayas contaminate, you can have a non-GMO tree and you're eating non-GMO papaya, but if the flower has been contaminated, the seeds within that papaya plant could be genetically engineered. So some farmers are faked out. They'll eat an organic or, let's say, an organic papaya that's been cross-pollinated accidentally. They love the papaya and they scoop out the seeds and plant it, and now their organic farm is 100% GMO. That's actually happened. So we recommend if you're going to eat organic papayas from Hawaii, order it from a place that's actually been tested to make sure that they are in fact non-GMO so contamination doesn't happen. They found a large number of contaminated organic papayas many years ago, and I don't know the percentage right now. Now there's only a little amount of zucchini and yellow squash that are genetically engineered, so when you order it or buy it, it doesn't say organic, it may be and it may not be.
So is what you're suggesting the average small homesteader who has a couple of acres of property and has a garden, it's possible that could be GMO depending if there's a big farm nearby that's using GMO?
For the papaya, yes. The papaya could be cross-pollinated with a neighbor. And, the biotech industry says, well, wrap every papaya flower with a bag. I mean, what they force people to do in order to prevent their contamination is abominable.
Is there any commercialized test that the average consumer can have to know if the food they're putting in their body is GMO?
Most GMOs are derivatives of soy and corn and cottonseed oil and canola oil found in processed foods. In order to test for GMOs in processed foods, some of them can't be tested because there's no more DNA, no more protein from the original source, like high fructose corn syrup. So other processed foods can be tested, but it's a laboratory procedure. I used to work in one of those laboratories as the vice president of marketing, and it takes $250 to $300 to $500 depending on what you're testing, and it takes several days. So it's not like you're going to send it in and then have it sitting on your plate waiting to eat it. There's a strip test that you can use in the field for grains. There's even one for papayas that they have out in Hawaii. It's not generally designed for consumers, but it's available, and I think it's about $10.
You talk about all this information in your books and DVDs, and tell us about your website and your new DVD that's coming out.
Okay, the websites are several. ResponsibleTechnology.org, that's from our Institute for Responsible Technology, which I founded 13 years ago. And that has a newsletter, and it has a speaker training program, it has an activist network called the Tipping Point Network. It's got a lot of material. A lot of people rely on it for basic information and deep information about GMOs. To help you avoid GMOs, we have non-GMOshoppingguide.com, and you can also rent the movie online, Genetic Roulette, which is the most popular GMO movie in the world. Genetic Roulette, The Gamble of Our Lives. You can see that at geneticroulettemovie.com. And for the trailer of the new movie coming up, it's secretingredientsmovie.com. There you'll see a 3-minute trailer, which alone has changed people's diets. We also have Facebook and Twitter available, links from our site. And some other movies that I've done are Your Milk on Drugs, Just Say No, and Hidden Dangers in Kids' Meals, And the two books, as I said, were Seeds of Deception and Genetic Roulette, the documented health risks of genetically engineered foods.
And what do you do to avoid GMOs or try to avoid GMOs? Nothing's 100%. Things might sneak in there, but what do you do in your diet? How do you do it?
When I purchase food for my home, it's always organic. When I go out to eat, I have to make sure that the oil that they use is not genetically modified oils. Remember, soy, corn, cottonseed, and canola are all genetically engineered, more than 90% in the United States. So the oil is certainly going to be a GMO unless it specifically says non-GMO or organic. So if I'm going to be eating cooked foods in a restaurant, I'll make sure they don't use the oils. If I'm eating salad dressing, I make sure the salad dressing doesn't come from one of these oils. And then most of the GMOs are visible: corn, tofu, things like that. Some GMOs are not visible, like soy sauce and sugar, so you have to find out what they cook with or serve with.
So you're saying soy sauce is GMO?
Soy sauce can be
Does
GMO.
it has soy?
Soy can be GMO, yes, absolutely.
And sugar? Processed sugar or any
Yeah,
sugar?
it's the sugar. If you say sugar in the United States, it's more than 50% from sugar beets. And nearly all sugar beets in the United States are genetically engineered. And the sugar cane is sprayed with Roundup. So coming or going, sugar is going to be an issue. But if you want to avoid the GMO portion, then buy products that say pure cane sugar.
Or grow them yourself, right?
Or grow them yourself. It's hard to grow cane, I guess.
So pure cane sugar is pure. It doesn't mean it hasn't been used Roundup?
No, pure cane sugar could be used Roundup. They don't list the pesticides and fertilizers, etc. on the label. So
Great.
it's not labeled.
Great. Well, Jeffrey, thank you so much for this information. I know you have a great resource I want people to get. Is there anything else you want to say to the audience before we finish here?
Sure. We've been educating people about the health dangers of GMOs. I've been doing it for 20 years, and it's having a difference, making a difference. 58% of Americans say they're looking for non-GMO foods, and that's not lost in the food companies. Most major food companies have at least some products that are non-GMO, and some are converting their entire lines to non-GMO. The tipping point of consumer rejection is underway. It already tipped in the natural products industry in March 2013. It tipped in the bovine growth hormone world. Before that, now it's tipping in the conventional food. And we've been helping create the behavior change messaging to give consumers the information they need to make that happen. So if you're interested in becoming an activist, an advocate, a change agent, go to responsibletechnology.org, consider taking the speaker training, joining a group, and especially get familiar with the film Genetic Roulette, The Gamble of Our Lives. It's the most effective tool we've ever tested that converts someone on the spot to a non-GMO diet. It's a thing you can give to your cousins and friends and parents, etc. They're not paying any attention to you because it's you. Just let me do the work for you and show them the film. And when Secret Ingredients comes out, that'll even be more powerful.
Great. Thank you very much, Jeffrey.
Sure. Safe eating, everyone.
All right, everybody. There it was. Jeffrey Smith. Check out his website and all the information below the video. It's so important that you support this work because genetically modified stuff is just everywhere these days, and we really need to be aware of what's going on. So thank you very much, Jeffrey, for joining us.
Nature's wealth, good for your health. This is the Raw Life Health Show. Raw Life, brighten up your life.